gotta step up.
Have you got anything specific that obviously you'd be willing to share as well that came up from your childhood that affected the way you dated or the kind of men that you went for?
Yeah, so I was adopted when I was a baby. And I've known all my life that I was adopted, but honestly, it wasn't until last year, I want to say, that really I started to realise how it's affected every single part of my life. Because I think from being adopted, I started with such a massive abandonment wound because my very first caretaker, I was abandoned, you know, that's how it felt anyway. And so when you grow up with that sort of abandonment wound, it meant that I'm constantly chasing somebody to choose me, right? So I'm in a constant choose me headspace. So when men come along, I'm like light bulbs, like someone's going to come and choose me. It doesn't matter what they're like they could be not the right person for me, but this inner child, the inner little Emma in me suddenly lights up and is like, well, this is the person for you. This, like, they're going to choose you and you're going to live happily ever after. And so you don't actually see people for who they are. You see people from this mentality of choose me.
And when you're going through all of this and learning all of that, you said you've known you were always adopted. Why do you think it took so long before you made that connection? Because for me, I have trouble with my dad, and now I can say that I think I was always trying to get him to love me, and he made me weird with men. So I thought, my dad don't love me, that means no one's going to love me. And the last conversation we had was my dad saying that no man's ever going to love me and no man's ever going to want me with the way that I am because of me running a business and not really caring about men or relationships. And I think that's why I'm so heavily into dating right now, is because I'm like, I'll prove you wrong, Dad, like someone does want to love me. And I think that was a light bulb moment for me to be like, oh, I always felt like that. I always felt like he didn't love me, so I felt like no one would. So... And that's draining, but why did you think it took you so long to realise when you did know you was adopted for your whole life? Why did it take you into your 30s to be able to realise?
So I had a massive development in my adoption last year. I did one of those Ancestry DNA kits. My friend bought it for me for my birthday. And that led me down a path of connecting with my birth father's cousin who was on there. And I had always been led to believe from the information I had that my birth parents had given me up for adoption because they were unmarried, it wasn't the right time, they weren't going to stay together. But through him, I learned that they actually did stay together and they had more children.
Oh my God.
So that was literally like devastating for me to find out. But it forced me to finally address all of these things that I've had from my adoption that I wasn't really addressing. So as much as that was like a big thing to deal with last year, I'm so grateful for it because that's led me to realising, yeah, I do have this massive abandonment wound. I do have this desperation for men to choose me. And I think once you know, like you're saying, like once you know, you're like, okay, well now I can understand things a bit better. Now I can deal with stuff a bit better.
And it can, if you're in your early 20s and you feel like you should have everything figured out, we're both in our 30s and it's taken us this long to be able to realise something and learn. It's not, I'm at 21 and if I'm going to have issues forever, then I will. And we're both stories that can tell, look, we're 30 and we've only just started to realise our attachment problems and where they're stemming from.
Hey guys, I'm Daisy.
And I'm Sian.
And remember to like, follow and subscribe if you want to see more great content with us and of course our amazing guests.
And lots of dating advice and lessons learned.
We can't wait to see you next week.